Stephen Murphy is a well-known cardiac surgeon. After another surgery, he and his colleague anesthesiologist Matthew Williams were discussing everyday things. During the lunch break, Stephen met a guy named Martin at a cafe and asked if he needed any pocket money. Stephen is always ready to give Martin anything he asks for. After lunch, they were just chatting on the street. Stephen gave Martin expensive watches as a gift. The guy hugged him, sincerely thanking. It's the least Stephen can do for him. Stephen has a wife named Anna, a daughter named Kimberly and a son named Bob. During dinner, they asked each other how their day went. In short, the Murphys are a typical family. Anna also works at the clinic, she's an ophthalmologist. Perhaps in the future, the children will follow in their parents' footsteps. The next day, Martin waited for Stephen at the clinic. Stephen reminded him not to come without calling first. The guy felt awkward and was about to leave, but Stephen stopped him. He didn't want to seem rude and told Martin that he simply cares about him. Stephen introduced Martin to the colleague, saying that the guy is supposedly the son of his acquaintances who dreams of becoming a cardiac surgeon. In the evening, Kim showed her singing to the father. She has been singing in a choir since she was 12 and dreams of becoming the best. Today the spouses attended an official dinner dedicated to prominent figures in the field of cardiac surgery. Stephen gave a speech on new methods of treating heart diseases. After the formal part, the guests enjoyed the party. Stephen declined alcohol. Anna said that he hasn't been drinking for 3 years. The couple left early because Stephen had to work in the morning. In his free time, he continues to regularly meet with Martin. The guy often remembers his late father, which makes Stephen nervous. Martin shared that after the father's demise, he and his mother became much closer. Their shared grief brought them together. Stephen invited Martin over. He wanted to introduce him to his children. Soon as agreed, Martin visited their home. Anna welcomed him at the door. Martin seemed like a very polite young man. Stephen introduced Martin to his children. Martin prepared small gifts for them. Kim really liked the violin keychain. It seems the teenagers found common ground. Kim didn't mind when Martin asked for permission to smoke. The guy is 16 years old, but he doesn't have a father to raise him. While Bob was listening to music in his room, Martin and Kim went for a walk. Despite her shyness, Kim sang for him. Later, Anna offered Martin homemade lemonade. Stephen told him that he could stay in their home for as long as he wanted. But Martin declined because he didn't want to leave his mother alone for too long. In the evening, Anna asked her husband what happened to Martin's father. Stephen replied that he had been in an accident. That man was also one of Stephen's patients. Anna felt genuine sympathy for Martin. Suddenly Stephen received a call from him. Martin said he had a great time and also invited Stephen over to repay kindness with kindness. Of course Stephen had to accept the invitation. Martin's mother prepared a delicious dinner. Martin asked Stephen to stay and watch a movie together. Stephen didn't want to, but he was afraid of offending the guy, so he decided to agree. Martin quickly got tired and went to sleep. The woman, who had lost her husband 2 years ago, asked Stephen how long he had been married. Stephen felt uncomfortable listening to compliments from the woman. He realized he shouldn't be here. This situation is wrong. Meanwhile, the woman continued to flirt persistently with him. Realizing where this was leading, Stephen was about to leave. The woman begged him to stay, assuring that Martin wouldn't hear anything. But of course Stephen left. The next day, Martin was waiting for Stephen at the clinic again, complaining of chest pains. Stephen was surprised, as Martin was only 16 years old. Martin said he was worried because of a bad heredity. His father also had heart problems and couldn't survive surgery. Stephen conducted several tests and found no abnormalities. Moreover, Martin invited Stephen over again to finish watching the movie. Of course Stephen declined. Martin said his mom would be very disappointed. He also secretly shared with Stephen that his mom has a thing for him. Stephen reminded Martin that he is married. He loves his wife and children and has no intention of having an affair. For the rest of the day, Stephen ignored Martin's calls, who was waiting for him at the cafe, leaving voice messages one after another. Martin was very persistent and didn't want to leave Stephen alone. Today the Murphys have guests, Matthew and his wife Mary. Matthew mentioned that he saw Martin near the hospital yesterday. This seemed like a troubling sign to Stephen. In the evening, Kim came home later than usual. It turned out she had been riding a motorcycle with Martin. It seems the girl had fallen in love with him. Stephen was unhappy and immediately called Martin, but this time the boy ignored him. The next morning, Bob didn't come down for breakfast. When Stephen entered the son's room, Bob said he couldn't get up because he couldn't feel his legs. At first Stephen thought his son simply didn't want to go to school, but it quickly became evident that he wasn't joking. The spouses immediately took Bob to the hospital. He was examined in the neurological department. Stephen was by his side the whole time. Turns out Bob's in perfect health. The tests didn't reveal any abnormalities. Stephen suspected that the son didn't want to go to school and had tricked them. Stephen went to work, and Anna took Bob home. When they got off the escalator, He fell again. So Bob ended up back in the hospital. He had an MRI, but it didn't show anything. All the tests were good. No one knows what's going on. The only explanation for what happened is stress, but Anna doesn't believe it. It was decided to keep Bob in the hospital until tomorrow to monitor him. Meanwhile, Kim was again riding a motorcycle with Martin through the city at night. During these moments, Kim felt something she had never felt before. Kim returned late, lying to the mother that she had been at her friend Claire's house. The next day, Anna came to the clinic. Her husband had been on duty all night. In their son's ward, they found Martin, who had learned about what had happened from Kim. He said he just wanted to make sure that Bob was okay. Martin also brought lemonade prepared by his mom. Walking away, Martin whispered to Stephen that he would be waiting for him in the cafeteria. Stephen didn't want to go, but he had to. Martin said he wanted to restore balance. Stephen's fault his father passed away, so now he must take the life of someone in his family. Otherwise, Anna and Kim would suffer just like Bob. In the end, everyone would perish except for Stephen. The doctor didn't understand what was happening. What Martin said sounded like absolute nonsense. But Martin was very serious and advised making a choice as soon as possible. Bob was already in the first stage. There are 4 stages in total. Security escorted Martin out of the hospital. Stephen went to the son's room and asked Anna if he had eaten. The wife replied that Bob wasn't hungry. Stephen remembered that refusing food was the second stage. He tried to persuade his son to eat, but Bob couldn't do it. In the evening, Kim put on makeup. Soon Martin came to visit her. Kim had fallen in love with him and hinted that her parents wouldn't be back until late, so no one would disturb them. However, to her disappointment, Martin left quickly. Bob still couldn't walk and refused to eat. But numerous tests didn't reveal any abnormalities. This made the doctors think that Bob had a psychosomatic disorder. However, Stephen didn't believe the problem was psychosomatic. He was sure that psychiatric treatment wouldn't help Bob. Stephen didn't even go home, spending the night at work. In the morning, his wife brought him a clean shirt. In despair, Stephen was ready to accept that Bob had a psychosomatic disorder. Anna was sure that together they could handle it. Meanwhile, Kim was rehearsing with the choir. At some point she fell. Anna couldn't hold back tears, not understanding what was happening to her son and daughter. Matthew hugged Anna to support. Like her brother, Kim couldn't eat. They were both in the same ward. Stephen had no choice but to go to Martin's house. Stephen knocked on the door for a long time and yelled, but no one opened the door. So Stephen began to threaten Martin with jail, but even that didn't work. In the end, Stephen had to walk away with nothing. In the evening, he confessed everything to his wife. Anna asked her husband directly if he had been drunk when he operated on Martin's father. Stephen said that there was no way to save the patient anyway. All this time, Stephen had been meeting with Martin and giving him money because he felt guilty. Moreover, Martin's mother was unemployed. But lately, it had all gone too far. Anna spends entire days in the ward with her son and daughter. Kim constantly asks if Martin has come by. However, he hasn't shown up once. Unable to bear it, Kim called her boyfriend. It turned out he was right outside the hospital. Kim wanted to try to stand up to see him. Surprisingly, she succeeded. Kim managed to approach the window, but Martin was no longer in the parking lot. Bob also wants to stand like his sister, but he's not capable of it yet. However, Kim quickly felt weak and returned to bed. Upon learning that her daughter had spoken to Martin on the phone, Anna became furious and forbade Kim from communicating with him from now on. Anna responded rudely to her mother, so Anna took her phone away. Unlike her husband, Anna isn't willing to tolerate such behavior. Kim only told her mother not to worry so much about what was happening. Soon the same fate would befall them all. The main thing is that everything necessary is within reach, and the rest doesn't matter. The spouses are powerless to do anything. However, Anna saw with her own eyes how the daughter stood up when she heard Martin's voice. Stephen tried to reassure his wife by telling that a new concilium would be held today, with the best experts in the field of neurosurgery in attendance. Secretly from her husband, Anna decided to visit Martin's house. She tried to stay calm, even when Martin said that Stephen was flirting with his mother, and she was reciprocating. Anna asked why she and her children should pay for Stephen's mistakes. After all, he was the one responsible for what happened, not any of them. Martin admitted that he didn't know if it was fair. But in his view, it's close to justice. The medical consultation was held. The doctors did everything they could, so there was no point in keeping Bob and Kim in the hospital. Anna agreed that the children might be better off at home. The next day, in the cafe, Anna met with Matthew, who as an anesthesiologist, was also present during the surgery. But Matthew didn't remember Martin's father. Anna wants Matthew to obtain the patient's medical record for her. She wants to know what caused the man's demise. Matthew said he couldn't do that because it's against the rules, but he did remember something about the case. However, Matthew wants something in return. Later in the car, Matthew revealed that the patient passed away due to Stephen's mistake. No one except Matthew knew that Stephen had been drunk. That's why he was not held accountable. Now Anna takes care of her son and daughter herself. Since their parents are doctors, they know what needs to be done. Stephen tries to act like everything is fine, and it irritates Anna greatly. She made it clear that she knows about his visit to Martin and his mother's house. Now Anna just wants her husband to put an end to everything by any means necessary. After all, it's his fault. In a fit of emotions, Stephen trashed the kitchen. Before going to bed, he told his wife that he really regrets it. Stephen doesn't want to fight. They need to stick together somehow to get out of this situation. However, Anna doesn't want to hear anything from him. Stephen spent the entire night thinking about what to do. In the morning, Stephen woke up his wife and told her to follow him. It turned out he had taken Martin hostage. Stephen asked his wife to prepare lemonade because Martin likes it so much. Martin advised Stephen not to waste precious time. The next stage would start soon, and then Kim and Bob wouldn't be saved anymore. Upon hearing a gunshot, Anna rushed back into the house. Her husband demanded that Martin lift the curse. Martin kept repeating that it wouldn't solve anything. Bob, Kim and Anna would all face the same fate unless Stephen chose one of them. Meanwhile, Kim and Bob contemplate the inevitability of their fate. Kim doesn't appear scared, dreaming of reuniting with Martin. She believes he did the right thing because their father deserved it. Stephen doesn't know how to save his family. Perhaps he's soon faced with the most difficult choice of his life. The next day, Stephen visited the school where his son and daughter studied. They both excelled in their studies. Suddenly Stephen asked the principal whom he would prefer if he had to choose between them. Of course the principal had no idea what was really going on. He replied that it's a tough question. Both Kim and Bob are very intelligent. Meanwhile, Martin hinted that if Anna wants to do something, she should hurry because Bob's time is running out. Kim wants to save her family, so she's willing to take on the role of the victim. Stephen refuses to do so, suspecting something is amiss. At night, upon entering the son and daughter's room, Stephen does not find Kim. She was in the meantime persuading Martin to escape together. If he returns her ability to walk, she'll help him get out of here. The parents searched for their daughter everywhere in the house. When they entered the room where Martin was being held, Kim was no longer there. In the end, Anna and Stephen found their daughter on the street. Morning came. While Stephen went to the hospital for a nutrient solution, Anna released Martin. Of course this infuriated her husband. Anna simply said that it made no sense. It wouldn't save them. The family's life has turned into a daily nightmare. Stephen must make a choice, but he can't decide who should pay for his mistake. Bob has entered the third stage. There's very little time left. Stephen gathered the family in the living room. None of them can move from their seats. Stephen took a gun and began to spin around with his eyes closed. Chance will decide who is destined to sacrifice themselves. In the end, Chance chose Bob. The next morning, Martin saw Stephen, Anna and Kim in a cafe. Now the balance has been restored. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel not to miss more exciting new products. Also, the authors will be pleased if you leave your opinion in the comments.